What's going on? Just wanted to give you guys a quick rundown. This is my LS swapped E46 BMW. Kind of want to give you guys a little bit of rundown on what it took me to get this far, how much it cost, and what to expect if you want to do something similar. The car's done. The only thing that it needs at this point is wiring and computer. Sounds like a lot, but it's really not too much. So we have a 5.3 LM7 out of a truck, LS6 intake manifold, and then we ran a Corvette intake to a filter in the bumper. For our accessories, it's truck spacing and accessories. So we have an ICT bracket for the LS alternator, running the OEM BMW power steering pump. Just kind of made it a little bit more simple on that and cheaper as well. I went with a Gen 4 truck water pump, which in hindsight I probably should have and will in the future run a car water pump off of a Camaro, because they come out right around here instead of up here, which gives me this big wonky radiator hose for the time being. But for now it'll work. We went with CX Racing headers. And the reason I went with these is A, because they're really nice, but B, because the amount of room that you have on the driver's side, super minimal. And you have the steering shaft. It actually goes through the headers. So I know that there are some stock headers off of, Corvettes or GTOs that you can make work over here. But this was just kind of the easiest and best option, I thought. Some people like to run their headers, stock headers, backwards. And then they wrap them around the front, around here. And then they'll connect with the passenger header to make one pipe out of the back. It's an option. But as far as simplicity and just getting this in the car, this is what I went with. This also came with a Y pipe, which I don't have on there right now. I just had some O2 bungs welded on it. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. The motor mounts, I went ahead and went with pencil Tucky motor mounts. I don't know if you can see them. Let me see if I can get you over here. They're pretty simple. Let's see if I can get you some eyes on them. You can kind of see it right there. It's one bolt to a bushing, and then it goes up to the motor plate on the engine. I don't know if you can see it very well, but those are only $400, and those fit really good. Those give you a lot of room over here. Once again, we don't have much room. You need to fit headers and your steering shaft. Problem I did run into with these headers is brake lines right here. They were butted right up against the header, so I kind of had to bring them back a little bit, put a little bit of heat shielding on them for now. I'll probably reroute them in the future, but I did keep ABS. So if you get rid of ABS, that can kind of fix a lot of your brake line issues as well. Get rid of a lot of brake lines. I'm trying to think what else. We're gonna do AC, but for the time being, it's just I got heat just wrapped around. We're gonna do heat and AC, but for now it's just wrapped around. I just want to get this thing started when the wiring comes in. So for the transmission, I just have the stock transmission, the stock BMW transmission. I'll get up under here and show you. It's a motor plate and connects the LS to the stock BMW transmission, whether you have the G-Trag or the ZF. In my case, it's the G-Trag. So if you look up under here, you can see the motor plate. And I mean, it connects on crazy. There's probably 100 bolts that connects it together. It came with a 6-puck clutch. Really nice, actually, Sachs. These are the collectors right here, and then the Y pipe connects there. And I mean, the transmission cross member was in the same spot. Transmission sits in the same spot. It is maybe a 1/4 inch forward I ran the stock BMW driveline, but once you get to the carrier bearing, it was off just a little bit. I don't know if you can see the studs coming out. Right there. I couldn't use those because it kind of put a bend on the carrier bearing. So I went ahead and got some bolts and some riv nuts, and I put them up in there and got that mounted in there. That goes back, and right now we're running stock rear end. So, you know, drivelines kept stock for now. We do have an M3 rear end sitting over here. It's under a bunch of stuff over there, but she's in there somewhere, and she will be she'll be put in eventually. I'd like to see kind of how this transmission before, you know, I get a custom drive shaft made, or, you know, do whatever I need to do with the M3 drive shaft and this drive shaft to make one work. I'm thinking that this transmission may not last with added power. So I think I'm going to hold off on the M3 rear end, and then maybe go with the T56 or a CDO09. We'll see what happens. But I mean, if this transmission holds up, we'll keep it, and then we'll go from there. But for right now, this is kind of what it took to get this in here. One other thing is the oil pan. There's a few different options. I went with the Poor Man Motorsports. They have an option. It's basically a clone of the Holley 302-1, but it's only $250. And then for $50 more, you can get baffle kit, which I also got. So with that, I had the truck dipstick. So what I did is the dipstick was too long. So it was basically reading full at about, I think, 2 quarts. So I drained all the fuel out, or drained all the oil out, sorry. And I took the dipstick out, and I added, you know, a quart at a time. So I have 3 marks. I went ahead and cut it. Get it to focus here. There we go. So I went ahead and cut it, probably about 1/2 inch. The first dot there, that's 4 quarts. The second line, that's 4.5 quarts. And then the third line there, it's right under 6 quarts, about 5.5, I guess, which is full for this oil pan. They say 5.5. I put a little bit more in it. Let's see what else. For the throttle cable, just a good old Amazon special. Ran it here, ran back, and then I ran through the stock location into the car. It fit pretty decent on the stock pedal. Just had to get some cable stops. One problem I did run into using the Gen 4 water pump. If you look here, I kind of had to clearance the neck a little bit. If you just kind of had it in there by itself, it hits and it won't let the throttle body close all the way. With a Gen 3 truck pump, it definitely won't work because the neck of the water pump comes out right about here, right where the throttle body needs to go. But once again, like I said, you can run, I think it's F-body water pump. It has the -3 spacing, just like the truck, and it comes out right about here. So we'll probably do that in the future. When we end up throwing a cam in this thing. It's just a stock motor right now. So it's going to be making about 300 horsepower, 315 torque. For fueling, stock fuel rails. I'll just put a little pressure gauge on here so I can see what the pressure is. I did an AN6 fuel line up to the rail. And then that goes back to a Corvette fuel filter / regulator. Right here. And I just put that, let's see if I can get it to focus here. There we go. I just put that where the BMW filter was. I have AN6 line running from it to the fuel rails, and then just stock rails all the way back. And yeah, it works good. Have exactly 55 pounds of fuel pressure right now. And that's with the stock BMW fuel pump. Yeah, I mean, if you guys, run the correct water pump to begin with, you won't have this, honking top radiator hose like I do. Also, you'll have more room for your intake to be able to run over in this direction if you wanted to. The ICT bracket kind of cuts me off for running in this direction, but you would definitely have more room over here. I mean, I kind of like the way it looks with the Corvette intake, so not too stressed about that. Did have to cut the front a little bit here, but if you look, that's not actually the support. The support's in here, so it's actually still supported really well. As far as cooling goes, we have the Gen 4 water pump once again, and then we just kept everything stock. This is the stock BMW electric fan with the stock BMW radiator. Pretty close, but it's just a little bit of the shroud there, so that's not a big deal. We can go ahead and trim that out of the way when it comes time. But I decided to do it this way because I do plan on keeping AC, and I mean that's all built in. We got that right there connected to the radiator. And then also the big thing is the power steering cooler. I didn't have to run a separate power steering cooler. It's right there built in. So that saves me a lot of time. Definitely had to heat wrap some stuff. Let's see what else. And that pretty much wraps it up. I did a oil catch can. Just kind of rudimentary right now. It's down there. We have that connected to PCV valve, the passenger side valve cover, and then back to the throttle body. And yeah, that's it. I mean, until wiring comes, we're kind of stuck. We've done everything we needed to do, heat wrapped everything. We have fuel, sparks all hooked up, everything's hooked up. We need wiring harness, and then once that's done, we'll finish the exhaust, and then she'll be done. Cool. Thanks, guys. If you guys have any questions, man, just let me know. This is a 2003 nothing special, but neither is the beginning of any project. And really have big high hopes for this thing. Maybe turbo in the future. For now, it's just stock motor, and we'll probably do a cam. Maybe blow the transmission, and we'll go from there. So anyways, yeah, if you guys have any questions, just let me know.